Yo people, Fellow Blank here, and today on Started Up we have a car that I have been waiting for 3 years to get behind the wheel of when it was announced and pre-ordered, the 2023 Lotus Emira. I think this car is one of the purest sports cars that you can buy today and an absolute blast to drive. So in this video I'm going to be sharing some of the details and pleasures of this car with you. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now Lotus, the obvious legendary race company, produces the Emira in Heathrow in South Norfolk in the UK, and they are known for really producing a great mid-tier raw car, much higher than say a Miata, but then not quite getting into the race spirit or performance of the 911, and then those hiring costs of those performance cars. Lotus has always been excellent at being kind of right there in the mid-class, giving you some more exotic feel, but not near the exotic price tag, and just a car you don't see left and right like you do the new Corvettes. Now the Emira, which translates to Princess in Arabic, is the first car that Lotus has produced since it's been purchased by the Chinese conglomerate Geely. And I was concerned it would lose a lot of the feel of the car, but I think Lotus has done an excellent job of holding onto their heritage here, and when you drive and experience this car, you don't think it is anything but a Lotus. Lotus announced the Emira in 2021 at Goodwood as their last gas-sipping car to be going on pre-sale and then delivery in 2022. Pointing big fingers at the COVID supply chain issues, they have been fighting to actually get these cars out, and they've slowly been trickling into the US between 2023 and 2024. This one was ordered over 2 years ago, and it just arrived last month. So I think there's quite a few people who are pretty frustrated with putting their money down and then having to wait this long. I've seen many people kind of back out and get their deposits back and go purchase a 911 or something else in the meantime. Now the Emira is completely replacing the long-running Lotus Evora, but dimensionally, they're almost a mirror image. The weight of this car is 3,100 pounds, coming right in around the range of some of the Evora models. But overall, the wheelbase, the length, just about everything is the exact same. This is 2 inches wider than the Evora, and it sits 0.2 inches higher. Even though dimensionally it's the same, getting into this car is so much better. It has much narrower door sills, the door opening's a little bit larger, and just a much more comfortable and less go-kart kind of feel from the Evora or the Exeges or any of the other past Lotuses. Now the Emira is powered by Toyota's 3.5 liter V6, the classic GR2 FE engine with the supercharger on the top. And this is the exact same engine that you find across all of Lotus's lineup. The same engine that Toyota uses globally and put into all their old Siennas and Camrys. So really this car is just a small version of a Toyota minivan. You just don't have the 8-seat capacity. Now if you're trying to decide between this car and a used Toyota minivan, this car would probably win on a roll race on your way to Costco, but you cannot put a TV in the back here. So I think in the instance of TV capacity per car, the minivan would clearly win. Now despite the minivan comparison, I think the pro of using this engine is, one, it's the same driveline across all of the Lotus models, and then all of the components here are very common, easily found really everywhere in the world. So if you have engine issues, part availability is going to be excellent for the foreseeable future on these engines, being such a reliable, tried and true, and well-loved powertrain. Now paired to this great engine is a 6-speed manual transmission, bringing power to the rear wheels, but there is an optional automatic if you were to forego what makes this car such a great option. All cargo space on this car is here in the rear as there's no front to put your luggage in, but keep in mind this is going to get very hot being this close to the engine, so don't store any cold lobsters or food back here. Now on this tailgate there's no handles or things going around. You typically grab 2 fingers in this hook and then whip down to close it. And when it was originally announced, the V6 First Edition originally came in at $94,000 MSRP. 2 years after that, it's kind of bumped up to $109,000 MSRP with delivery. And that part is really sad, as this had the means to be one of the best cars you can buy under $100,000, being really unique. Now the future i4 AMG engine coming to this does have a lower cost, coming in at MSRP around $99,000. I really wish they would have kept it down to the $70,000 and $80,000 MSRP range, as that's really what the market's needing as car prices go higher and higher. Just needing a little bit lower cost of entry to some of these more playful and somewhat exotic cars. And the big question on these is what the residual value is going to be. Lotuses have historically not held their values greatly just because it doesn't have the name of the Porsche and the long-term durability and parts availability at being just a small company. So I anticipate in the 3 to 5 year range, when these come down, say $20,000, $30,000, getting them into the $70K range, this would be such a phenomenal car to pick up for that value in that price range. it gets up and goes. Woo! Now, as far as performance goes, the Emira is nothing exceptional with its 400 horsepower. Your 0 to 60 is coming in at 4.3 seconds, which is a bit behind the 1718 in the Porsche. But with that, again, I think that's completely fine, as this is not trying to set records, and the weight per power handles it very well. I think this car really would benefit from, say, bumping it up to 500 horsepower, but I foresee that coming down the line with their next future models of the Emira, as this is just the first edition. With that, the top speed is a claimed 180 miles per hour, far more than you need from just a daily driver, and really just a lot of fun of a sport car. Now, this car is equipped with the touring suspension, which is one of the key options you select when buying this car. You do not have dynamic suspension in any way, so they're manually setting the stiffness package that you buy from the factory. This car is rarely going to actually be tracked, so the touring, giving a little bit better drive comfort on the daily use, is the better option. But with that, we're still nice and stiff relative for the little car. It does get a little bit spongy at higher speeds, and I think that track package would have helped, but again, not going to be there that often. I also really love the little valve here that opens up with the throttle. That's neat. Smooth. Now, I think for the exhaust, it definitely needs something a little bit more snarl to match the package here. It sounds nice in here with the interior, but woohoo! Nice. Ooh, that super sounds good. It opens up. Strength of this car is there's so little with this feel and performance and kind of rawness to it without getting into those absurdly expensive cars. And that's why I think the Emira and Lotus in general just has such a great package to offer. So the car is a lot of fun on the straight, and it's just nimble in the corners, and it's not uptight like a Porsche, McLaren, or really any of those cars. It's the big brother to the Miata, and it's like, hey, let's go have some fun. This car is not a collector item. It's not to keep in, out of the rain. It's just the fun machine, and you can really dig into any corner of the car and find where they put a lot of care into all just the little details. It's nothing, again, nothing exotic and diamond encrusted, but it's little things like the little triangular cutouts on the exhaust tips, matching the triangular cutouts here on the kept speakers. It's so well done overall, and really makes me grateful for the people. If I was to design a car, this would be my target. Maybe a little bit more power, but such a good package. 6-speed here is not my favorite I've ever felt. It's a little sloppy and relative to some of the others, but it is the same one that's in the Evora. But most of the drivetrain in this car was a direct carryover from the Evora, so really nothing new here. But I do like the clutch. I feel like it's pretty consistent, but I would like a little tighter package in this shifter here. Although it is pretty cool, you have the exposed linkage down here in this mesh, giving just another little more raw feel to this car. Ah, man! Now, the interior is pretty comfortable overall. Nice little arm pads here. In the back, we do have a decent amount of space back there for your storage, since you do have the volume there in the boot, but everything you put back there sitting right next to the engine is just gonna get toasted. So while you can fit a suitcase back there, it's nice to have this usable space. With these seats flipped down, you can get some stuff back there. But it is a two-door, two-person car, no rear seats or options for things like that. Now, if you have driven the Lotus of the past, this Emira is bringing up a whole nother level of kind of refinement overall. The Exige would just buzz my head as it's an aluminum box, really just a street legal go-kart. But with that, interior is so much more plush. Your fit and finish on all of your seams is wonderful. I really love the metal accents throughout. You have the KEF machine speakers, and really a well-built interior that's on par with some of those nicer cars. This car is also significantly more spacious overall. Getting in, you don't hit your head as terrible on this door seal. And then also, it's just not made for larger people. The seats are pretty narrow. I'm a stick and I'm 6 foot tall, and it's really hugging my legs in. There's not much comfort there. And then my just the back of my spine is kind of hitting this headrest, which is not adjustable. Woo! There's nothing really complicated with the interior. I saw that Doug was calling out all of these little knobs, or a lot of them shared with the Volvo, as again, that's also under the Geely conglomerate. But I don't know, I think it's pretty well refined. We don't have many buttons here to select from on your kind of AC system. It's very minimal. A lot of data is kept into the screen itself here, but it is a nice simplistic interior, and I absolutely love this gauge cluster. I'm usually not a fan of the full digital screens. The layout and how they did all of this is one of my favorites I've ever seen in a car. And then when you swap between your drive modes, it completely changes how the screen shows up. And man, it's subtle. Like, I feel like this is one of those almost a Kindle pad where it's not glowing in your face. It's kind of got a matte feel to it. Same for the touchscreen here on the right. Now for miles per gallon, this thing is rated for 18 to 24 miles on highway. With that, I think you're gonna get a little bit closer to just hanging in that 20 range. We've got a 15.5 gallon tank on here, and combined with that MPG, we get about 300 miles of range, a little bit over. So nothing great for touring, but that helps keep down on the excessive weight with that extra fuel, and keeps the performance and feel a little bit more consistent throughout that. Now for the traction, when you flip into race mode, it shuts off all your traction control. And then we've got the Goodyear tires on here instead of the Michelin Pilots. But with that, the braking, I think the braking is decent. It's nothing exceptional. I would like a little bit more grip, maybe again a race package where they get some bigger Brembos on there. But braking here is fine. Now the hardest decision you're gonna have is when you order this vehicle. The Lotus website is one of the most comprehensive and kind of gives you that preview of what the options are and exactly how it's going to look, even with the little digital scenes where it's showing the car with different lighting effects with the different paint colors. But with that, you have a few key decisions you've got to make right up front. The suspension, like we talked about, you have to pick whether you want that stiffer track suspension or the softer touring suspension. When you pick that, if you pick the touring, you can only get the Goodyear Eagles on here, but if you go and pick the track suspension, you now have to decide between those Michelin Pilots or the Goodyear Eagles. The next big decision you have to make is picking the V6 supercharged engine that's in here, or waiting for the i4 engine from AMG that's coming, which then will only come with the automatic transmission. Now on the Super V6, once you pick that, you now have to decide, do you want the manual or the automatic? With that, don't turn down the manual, as again, I think that this car is set up so well to be the driver's car, and every other car out there comes in automatic for your daily. This is just a blast. Having the manual in here is so much more fun for the feel of this car. And there's also a lot of little bitty options you can go through and pick when speccing out this car. If you get the first edition though, it goes through and really cherry picks all the options for you to just fully speccing this car out, giving you the big options of really just picking between the performance and handling of this car. One of the huge bonuses on this thing is the reverse camera. The old Lotuses can be very hard to see out of, and this nice screen here gives you some decent visibility at the back. Sadly, this is not a rear view camera to help with the blind spots, but mirrors on the side, decent. Visibility, much better just from the kind of seat height in here. Woo! Baby. All right, now that's all I've got for you today here on the Lotus Emira. A phenomenal car, and I think one of the best you can buy out on the market right now for a reasonable amount of money. So let me know if you got any questions, comments. I'll be happy to get back with you. So thanks for your time. Have a good day. Peace.